up? I got Naskin here with me. This ain't a diss song, but yeah, you know what it is. I'm a cheesehead, y'all niggas cheese whiz. Pittsburgh Steelers, that's nothing. That Super Bowl ring, that's nothing. Pull up in your town when you.
Mike, when you have the individual sessions where you had different coaches working with not their position groups, what do you hope to get out of that? How does it help your players? How do you think it helps your coaching staff?
That's just an example. We just call that circuit work. I mean, we'll do different variations of it. Today's was a takeaway circuit, which has been a big emphasis of ours, just different ways to extract the football. So I just think it's good that have those guys rotate and just do it high tempo, and then have different coaches get exposed to coaching different players, so everybody gets a sense of all of our staff. The same reason when we present scouting report material that each coach at some point will present to the whole room, which I always thought was real good build that rapport with the whole room, as well as professional development for a young coach. So I like it when all those guys are working and they're exposed to all the players.
You just mentioned the turnovers. Is there a couple, 2 or 3 things that you can pinpoint how to get that number back up that you're focusing on this offseason and in the training camp?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is attacking the football, having that mentality. I mean, we've been using the phrase ball awareness, and I think we've done a much better job this spring of, as the runners are coming through, of being aware of where the football is, and taking swipes at it and punching at it. And we always talk to our guys too about tackling at the level of the football, so that way when you wrap, you have a chance to knock it out as well. So. The circuit part is big into it. We didn't do a good enough job coaching it last year, and that was really we as a defensive staff before the players got here spent a good amount of time just kind of spitballing and how can we get that number up. And obviously there's other factors that go into it when you're playing with a lead and matchups and those types of things, but just our awareness of the football and attacking it has to go up, and I think we've done a good job emphasizing it this spring, and I think that's falls back to you get what you emphasize, and I think the players have done a good job responding to that request.
Is it easier to emphasize something when you've got your defense installed? I mean, you're not starting from square one like you did 13 months ago.
It does help, but that just needs to be always, whether we're in year 1 or year 10 of a system. That's just falls into the category. I mean, that's just football fundamentals. Just at the end of the play, attacking the ball. There are different ways to be disruptive, but I think we really needed to make it a focused, concerted effort. And it's helpful for our offensive guys as well, our ball carriers, and it's something that Matt wanted right out of the gate. That sometimes you have a tendency to, we use the phrase brother-in-law. You just kind of tag off on a guy, whereas. We warn the offense that, hey, we're coming after the football, so don't get your feelings hurt.
Mike, a lot of the offensive coaches and players today have talked about how difficult it's been to operate against you guys in team drills. Are you happy with where you are? How would you rate what you're doing right now?
For where we are, happy is probably a strong word, but I like the progression, kind of where we are. I think certain players are at different points. Some of the rookies, everybody, we challenge them all the time in the meeting that they should be able to, at any point, have a good sense of their own personal inventory. Like, what are they doing well? What are they not doing well? Where do they need to kind of, get things up to speed? So I think everybody's at different places. You have rookies coming in, or the guys that are new to the system. I do like where the returning guys are. I think they've been able to take a deeper dive into the details of what we're trying to get done, and I think that's showed up. From a standpoint of understanding the calls a little bit better, and when we call them and why we call them. Since that knowing what to do, has become for most of them second nature.
Mike, what have you seen from Kadar Holman so far?
I like Kadar. I mean, he's intense. And you can tell he loves football. And he's a guy that has been real good at the press man aspect of it. I just think he's like all rookie corners, just coming in and having to learn some of the intricacies of the zone stuff. But I just think there were times when, he's had practices where you have to really go back and look to see if a ball even got caught on him. I mean, he's done a good job, and you've seen how we do a lot of two-spot work where we have the two different groups, and he's been up essentially with the ones and the twos most of the time. So it's not like he's been, kicking butt in the JV game and we're feeling good about it. I mean, he's been up against some of our better guys and more than held his own. So we're pleased with where he is. I mean, he's got a long way to go, but love his skill set, love his attitude.
Mike, what led to the decision to move Latrell Jamerson from cornerback to safety?
Maybe need, I think, was part of it, but he does have position flexibility. He has played out there, knowing that we know that we could always put him back out there. Now he is playing some inside corner. We have played him at the nickel some this spring, but he does have a solid skill set for safety. He's smart. He's tough. He's shown that he can tackle. So I feel good about where he is heading into training camp.
With Josh Jones not being here for OTAs, but now having to be on the sidelines for the rest of minicamp, what are you hoping he can take away just watching and not being able to contribute?
Yeah, I'm sure that's tough. I mean, and when you're competitive and you stand there and watch it, I'm sure he's itching to get out there. Unfortunately, he's can't because of his injury, but. I mean, that's one thing. It's probably a little bit easier when you're not around, but when you're there and you see your teammates and you're around it, hey, this is what I do, and you can't be a part of it. I'm sure it's frustrating.
You mentioned positional flexibility with Latrell. Does he have the same thing where he can kind of fit all over in your defense?
Who's that, Josh?
Yeah,
Yeah, and he showed that where he can place the safety spots. Whether it's free or strong, and then we've played him at our dime linebacker spot a decent amount. Then he even played some when we've gone against bigger groupings, and we've played a additional safety at the nickel spot. He's played that as well. So he's pretty well versed in what we do. So I mean, the knowledge of the system is not an issue.
Have you purposely tried to get Rashawn Gary into coverage situations as an outside linebacker just to see what he can do?
We have the outside backer group. I mean, we're throwing it all at him just to kind of see it. We didn't want to specialize with those guys too soon. Rashawn was brought here to rush the passer, as is Zadarius. I mean, Preston's a guy that has a little bit more coverage stuff in his background, but can still rush very effectively. So we're gonna give it all to him, and that's fine to see those guys dropping in the spring. But I already told Zadarius, you're getting paid to go that way, not that way. So we always like to at least have some change-ups where an offense just can't draw a bead and say, hey, listen, he's always that's a big part of our pass rush package is causing confusion as far as who the rushers and who the droppers are, and you can't have a guy that's 100%. Rush that makes it a little bit easier on them. So there will be some drops. We certainly won't major in it with those two guys especially.
Mike, you move a lot of people around. You take a look at a lot of different guys in different positions. How much can you determine out of these OTAs and minicamp, or will you have to wait to make final determination? Do you see them in pads in training camp?
Always. You get a pretty good sense of guys in the spring, but there's still that big question mark, especially rookies, guys that you haven't seen in an NFL situation, whether they have the physicality, whether they can tackle NFL players, things like that. So I think there's a lot of people, a lot of coaches you can get fooled in the spring sometimes by guys in shorts, but it comes down to how they are in pads in the fall. The nice thing about our group and what Goody and his staff have been able to put together is. This is not a finesse group, especially in the front seven. So I don't think transitioning into pads is going to be an issue for our guys.
Mike, in the secondary, it seems like it's been a while here since this franchise was able to keep two corners through the majority of the regular season due to injury, mostly due to injury. In your second year now, is there a consensus or feeling of things you need to do to try and find two players that have got the best chance to get through a 16-game season?
I mean, that just goes without saying. I mean, you want your starters to be your starters throughout, but at the same time, knowing this is the NFL and injuries occur, and whether it's been bad luck here for whatever the reason is, I think it's critical that you have depth, and that's probably the most important position to have depth, because it's as a wise coach said long ago that the two places you get beat the fastest are quarterback and cornerback, and you just can't have enough, and it's evidenced by how many defensive backs we played last year. I know it was well into the teens. Certainly never would have thought that going into last year, but that's part of it, and you hope we prepare our guys physically that they can hold up throughout the year, and we're optimistic that that'll be the case this year, but we're always going to be looking for depth there.
Mike, first of all, who was that wise coach? Was that you?
I'm not sure. I think Rex might have said it and took credit for it, but I think it was somebody before him, but that's who I did hear it from.
You talked about takeaways earlier. Is there another area where you were especially focused on? Well, I know you want to be better everywhere, but I don't know, maybe the pass rush, you remade those positions. You had 44 sacks. I don't know if that was indicative of how you felt about your pass rush last year. What do you really want to be significantly better at this year?
Well, the one area I don't think we were very good was on first down, especially against play action. So that was an off-season study of ours, that what are other teams doing, who's been the most effective with it, what are some things that we can do to help, and hopefully adding the two edges we've added, and then throw Rashawn into that mix and being able to roll those guys there. I always think that's a big part of it when you have pass rushers on the field on early downs, and I think that complements our guys inside. But that was certainly something that we talked about in the offseason that we needed to improve on. I mean, I think we just have to have a better win rate on early down. We need to get teams behind the sticks more, because that really plays into what we do.
So, I just love my team. Yeah, that's the team with them big G's on the helmet.